Yeah.
Hey everyone, sorry I
Hi,
couldn't.
Julia.
Hi.
Yeah, I glad to have you. And Matt, I will put the link to the infographic in the chat so you can check it out. We're really excited at our third quarterly meeting of the year for our educational volunteers and community practice to have Solange Mwizera from Save the Children in Rwanda to present to us about some really exciting work that she has been leading with youth volunteers. So Solange has years and years of experience in education, from teacher to head teacher to training to chief of party, all kinds of things. She brings really deep expertise in early grade learning, especially, and literacy and other areas. And she's got deep experience working through community volunteers in Rwanda. I know this is at least the second project where she's been working closely with educational volunteers. So we're really privileged to be able to have her speak to us today. So without further ado, over to you, Solange.
Yeah, thank you so much, Heidi. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to share with you the work we are doing with volunteers. It's really my pleasure to be on this call. Heidi has already presented me. Maybe I can say the current position. Currently, I'm the project director for Zero Out of School Children, which is implemented in Rwanda. It's a government initiative co-funded by Qatar Fund for Development through Education Above All Foundation, through its program called Educate a Child. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, Solange.
But it's not coming.
We can see it. For me, it's in like a separate
Okay.
screen. So I don't know if it's hiding somewhere on yours.
Okay. Okay, so thank you. Talking about the project, the current project overview, the overview of volunteerism in Rwanda, youth volunteers working in Zero Out of School Children project. Then I take you through the achievement we had with working with these youth volunteers, the best practices and the lessons learned, and then we'll be sharing also the challenges and the proposed solutions. So this project is Out of School Children. It's, as I said, it's an initiative of the Ministry of Education in Rwanda. I have already said this, funded by Qatar Fund for Development through Education Above All Foundation, and its program Educate a Child. So Save the Children is leading the consortium. It's a 44 million USD. The aim is to ensure that no child misses out of primary school. So we are targeting 177,119 out of school children. These are the children who were out of school at the primary school level when we were working on proposal development, but currently we are working on baseline identification of out-of-school children, which will confirm the numbers, but this is our target. So now we are covering the whole country in 30 districts. Now we have a district, then under district we have sectors, total of 416 sectors. Then we have for 40,837 villages, and then 3,213 schools. So we are covering the whole country. The project will run for 5 years. We started September 8th, 2023. Will end September 7th, 2020. So in this picture, this is our Honorable Minister of State in charge of education with our country director. This is on the day of launch where they also signed agreement. So below, this is our country director again signing the agreement with Education Above All Foundation. So maybe we can start by I can start by giving you an overview on volunteerism in Rwanda. So in Rwanda, volunteerism is really a traditional practice where every Rwandan knows volunteerism as something which really they value, and anyone they just do it on their willing. Then they also commit to do volunteerism when then that it is free of charge in whatever they are supporting in. Then the volunteerism goes to activities which benefit the common interest of the whole community. So here I have listed different examples. We have the youth volunteers that we are working in the program. I'll be talking more about them. Then we have the community health workers. These are the volunteers who are supporting in the health domain. Then we have community education workers. They are also supporting in education. We worked with them in project. Then we have the friends of families. They are also working to support community in social protection issues and the child protection. And then the village level with the village leaders. These are different types of volunteers we have in Rwanda. So now, when it comes to these volunteers in the Zero Out of School Children project, again, come back to the Rwanda that adopted the National Volunteer Policy in 2012, and which the youth aged between 16 and 30, they participate in the voluntary social and economic sectors activities across the country. So everyone contributes according to the skills he or she has, the knowledge and ability. And as I said, this is something that that is not forced. Everyone who has that willingness is eligible to join this platform. So Save the Children to work with these youth volunteers, we signed the Memorandum of Understanding with the Ministry of Local Government to work with these youth volunteers because they are under, these youth volunteers are under the Ministry of Local Government. This is an institutionalized entity. So we have a specific MOU with the Ministry of Local Government to engage these youth volunteers in identification, enrollment, and mobilization to ensure that out-of-school children are in school. So they support in ensuring that every child who was supposed to be in primary, they get identified, enrolled, and retained in school. So in total, we are working with 2,599 youth volunteers across the country, meaning at least at each cell level, we have one youth volunteer. In that, then at sector level, we have also a representative. Then at district level, we have one representative as well, and also at provincial level. So those youth volunteers, if you have a volunteer like in a cell, he or she is the one who is following up on all activities related to the project as highlighted before. So these youth volunteers are not paid. That's why they combine their volunteerism work with their daily living work. So we don't oblige them to the number of working hours or the timing, maybe the hour morning or afternoon. They arrange themselves to ensure that they hit the target, but they just arrange themselves to ensure that it doesn't also disturb their daily work, which help them to survive. So as some of the achievements, these youth volunteers were trained on project activities before getting started. For instance, when it comes to identification, we have a form on identifying out of school children. So they got the training. When it comes to enrollment, they were trained on how they become collaborating with the existing other structures in the community in the process of enrolling those out of school children, then on how to mobilize those children themselves to go to school, their parents and the community, to ensure that they also work together on retaining those children, but also avoid those who are in school to drop out. So these youth volunteers, they supported us to do door-to-door identification of out-of-school children across the country, and they really did a great work because we in year one we had a target of 100,000, but they have already supported us to overachieve the target of year one. So we are at 120%. So they now started the door-to-door awareness campaigns on enrollment so that in this coming month, September, that's when the school new year will start, so that those out-of-school children identified can go to school. Then we collaborate also, they also collaborate with schools and the local leaders to follow up on absenteeism and the dropouts. So as best of practices, these youth volunteers, they work as a team. If a youth volunteer with a large territory with many households to cover for identification, he or she gets also support from the colleagues so that he or she meets the deadline, because not all cells have the same the same household. Some are big, others are small, so they ensure that they support each other. So another best practices is that these youth volunteers who are working in different thematic areas in the same locations, they join efforts to deliver results. So although we have the youth volunteers who are supporting in Zero Out of School Children project to ensure that the children are brought in school, retained and complete. But we have also other youth volunteers who are in other sectors, different domains. So they ensure that they collaborate. For instance, if someone goes in another activity, maybe he's not part of our program, but if he or she finds a child in a family who is not enrolled in a school, he or she ensures that she communicates with his or her colleague to ensure that that kid gets identified and mobilized to go in school. So we have also some lessons learned. We really saw that having this structure of youth volunteers institutionalized, it really helps strengthening the model, because from the national level to the community level, they are supported. They are supported. At the national level, there is a specific staff who is in charge of following up the activities of these youth volunteers, which really makes easier to monitor what they are doing, their issues, their challenges, and it supports them to achieve to achieve the results of the activities that they are implementing. Yeah, and also we really saw that uh, these youth volunteers are committed to serve and display Rwandan values, which gain them respect in the communities and across administrative levels. So, but they also respect, and even our high-level officials in the country, they really recognize the great job they are doing. They are invited in high-level meetings to share their thoughts, to share their plans as youth volunteers, which really motivates them in the volunteerism that they are doing. Yeah. Another thing is that engagement of youth volunteers in their own cells makes it easier for them, as they already know where their communities. So this helps them to know where are we going, where do we have a big number of out-of-school children, who is the village leader, so that we go together, or he or she guides me. What are the needs of this community, or which messaging do they need? So all this really being themselves a part of the community trusts them, and they share with them openly the information, but moving around as well becomes easier because they're already part of the community. Yeah, another thing is that the government really owns the project implementation, as they do daily monitoring of the implementation through working with these youth volunteers and getting the feedback from them. It really helps them to know what is happening on the field, how they can support also the volunteers in the work they are doing, but also a project as a whole. So we do also have some challenges. So we have some youth volunteers who drop out. But the good thing is that these youth volunteers, they are more than 1 million, around 1 million 900 thousand, which makes easier for the government to replace immediately a youth volunteer who drops out, not because he or she doesn't want to volunteer, but maybe because he or she has maybe gone for further studies, or she or he has got maybe a job that requires him or her to go to another location, and so on. So another challenge was that some cells are too large for one youth volunteer. So that's why I said they they work as a team to ensure that tasks are completed. Another challenge is family commitments. Not every time family members are at home. They also go in their other activities for that bring them income. So what the youth volunteers do is they know when these family members are available, so they plan accordingly to ensure that they go to meet with them. So another challenge is a small participation of female youth volunteers versus males. So you find a big number of males compared to female in our program, but we plan to increase the number of participation through mobilization, targeting mainly female, not because they are not volunteering, but they might be also in other programs, but also in our program, we also want to be more females. For instance, we want to see how a youth volunteer can have like a short distance, reduce the number of households to work with to ensure that we can motivate more females to participate. So briefly, this is what I had to share with you, but I welcome any questions, any comments and additions. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thanks so much, Yolanda. That was really fascinating. I have a bunch of questions, but I don't know if Nat or did you have any questions they want to start with so I don't monopolize the time, or if I should start with one while they think of their questions?
I do have one if I can launch in. That was so
Go for it.
interesting. Thank you so much for sharing it. It was really interesting also not just to hear about your program, but about this policy of the national volunteerism. And I just had a question on that because I think you said that youths are sort of matched according to their ability and skill. I was just interested how that works, sort of at a practical level, like who does it, and from your program's point of view, the logistics of it, basically how, or whether in your program, is it actually maybe more to do with the geography, because of course they're local volunteers. So yeah, would love to know a bit more about how it actually works. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That is a good question. So as I said, these youth volunteers are under the Ministry of Local Government. As we were signing MOU, we also looked at the terms of reference. What do we want these volunteers to do? So we listed all the activities. What do we want to engage them in? What is the frequency? What is the timeline of deliverables? Who is eligible, so that when they go into sharing messaging with the youth volunteers, they really the roles and responsibilities in the project are clear, and the criteria of who is eligible. For instance, as we were saying that the first activity was identification. So on that one, for instance, it had a timeline such that if it is a volunteer who is committed, but maybe who doesn't have time in that period, he or she doesn't commit him or herself to register him or herself. So this is one. Another thing was about like involving like data collection. For instance, if we are using digital tools, so they understand that the data are going to be collected in this way. You are going to get a digital tool, you will be doing this and that, so that the youth volunteers really understand the scope of work, such that if he or she knows that he or he is the one who will be covering the whole cell, he or she understands, and also she understands that although this is a project, but they are going to volunteer in doing it. So first of all, the communication that goes to them was very clear, highlighting all key activities. and highlighting the timeline to ensure that whoever who is committed understands what he or she is going to do. Although afterwards, they don't limit in case you are just waiting an opportunity or you want to work on opportunity, they don't limit because they have others in the same cell. Someone who is working, he or she ensures that he engages also others from her cell or his cell to ensure that whenever he or she leaves, the next person comes also on board without delaying activity, which was different from the past project, the literacy project called USAID Mureke Dusome that will engage volunteers. Those volunteers, they were not in the structure which is institutionalized. It is the education community workers, it is in the process of being institutionalized, but because it was not institutionalized at that time, it was difficult, for instance, to replace those who were dropping out because it was being logistically, it was managed by the staff. But this one, the replacement is logistics is not managed by the project staff. It is managed directly by the government. So because we have some a youth volunteer who represents others at sector level. So he or she is the one who is coordinating others at cell level. So if someone has a plan to leave, he or she communicates directly to their representative at sector level so that they can start to replace immediately. And then from communication from sector to district, then district, they communicate to the national level, such that every month we receive a list from the Ministry of Local Government of the monthly youth volunteers. But the changes are not many. You can find like changes of 4 to 5 in a total of 2,599. So I don't know if I have answered your question, but this is how it's working. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for that. It's really, really fascinating to understand. It sounds like an incredibly well organized policy in practice.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Judea looks like she had to drop off, but she put a question in the chat. She wanted to know, how do you ensure that children who had dropped out of school and then come back are retained in school? How do you support that retention process? How do the volunteers support that?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. That is a good question. So in school, now we are working with the government, with the Ministry of Education, to upgrade their school data management information system. It was recording children, children's attendance in a general, not individual. Like primary one, the attendance maybe this month was like 80% or 90%. But now we upgraded the system using the HIS2 to ensure that the system tracks individual attendance. So everyone can see in the system, Solange has been absent this week 3 times. Then the youth volunteer who is based at cell level, and in each cell you can find like a maximum like between 2 and 3 schools. It can vary between 1, 2, or 3 schools. So they work with the youth volunteer. The teachers shares the list. Say, oh, this child has been absent like 2 times. Then in addition to the teacher to communicate directly with the family and the village leader, they also engage the youth volunteer to support, to go to the family to see what is happening, why the child has been absent. Is it because if mainly when it is an absence which is not excused, maybe if it is the child has been sick and it's communicated, that is understandable. But if it's an excused absenteeism, the youth volunteers in his or herself goes to to check what is happening. And the good thing, he or she doesn't also work alone. She also communicates with other community entities in charge of education from the sector, the state, and the village to ensure that whatever issue the child is facing, it is addressed to ensure that the child goes to school. And these youth volunteers, they are also capable to even report at the immediately at the national level, such that if it's something which needs advocacy, the high level officials can get information on time and work on it accordingly, and also engage the district officials and the other officials in the sector to do follow-up. Yeah, thank you.
No, it's super fascinating, and it reminds me of like what we were thinking of with our later volunteer model. If you're working through something that's already institutionalized, like this national, like kind of government youth system, so much of the rest of it just follows. And I guess one of my questions is, I mean, I know that in Rwanda's case, there's a lot of political willpower around keeping children in school and making sure children don't drop out. So that, I imagine that is very key to why all of this has worked.
Yeah.
But I also wonder, is there any other tips you might have for other projects that want to work through like a national service program? Like, what was really key for you in getting that MOU and setting it up in such a way that it really works through the government system? Like, was there anything you did that was like, this is what helped them realize like this was going to be a win-win for all of us, or something? Any advice you have on that aspect of it?
Yeah, thank you so much, Eddie. I think that is really a great question. So the advice I can really share is to just start with government or someone whom you think will be involved from the design. I really saw that it really helped a lot. So we started designing this project in 2021. And from that first minute, the government was involved. The ministers, then their technical team that were updating them so that they can really also participate on how we are designing the project strategies we are incorporating to ensure that we really tackle with this issue. So I saw really that engagement of those stakeholders from the initial design. So they really own it when you have engaged them from the design. Then also the regular communication. Sometimes you might like get a project and then you design together, but when it comes to implementation, you don't communicate, you go, you implement. So communication is really also very key. Now I can really tell you that we have a best practice where the Minister of State herself, she is the one who is chairing the out of school children steering committee. It is chaired by herself. Then they are inviting, in the steering committee, we have other ministries who are related with issues of out of school children, Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion. So they are all in, and those high level officials who are decision makers, they come in, we discuss. It's just not a meeting, but like a kind of a workshop to check each activity to see if it's really responding to the issues identified. Like now we are waiting to get results of baseline, and you can imagine that we have reached somehow far, even if we are now getting the results of baseline. But again, now they are committed, for instance, to see to convene another meeting, having those ministers sitting together and see these are activities we planned in the proposal, but this is what the baseline tells us. So are they still relevant? Do we make any adjustment? How do we move forward to ensure that we are responding to the question that those children are facing? So I really see that kind of engaging the stakeholders and who the decision makers at other stage, proposal development, but also continuing with them at each stage. It's very helpful. And another thing, not every time the minister is going to be available, but I have also seen that working with the focal person provided by the minister, ensuring that you engage him or her always, it also helps, because whenever you are planning, you are together. Whenever we are planning, we are together with them. We agree on monthly activities. We have check-in meetings. So when we go for awareness on radio or TV, no one can go alone. If they are called by media, they ensure that they invite the informers. We go together. Or if it's the same on our side, we ensure that we go together. So I saw that it's really helping, and whatever we are doing, we avoid to just show that this is just it's just a project, but we are just leveraging to what they have been doing, and then we are motivating them by showing them maybe that we want to just go extra and see how really the issue of out of school children can just be ended. Zero is ambitious, but working together with them and showing them that through working together is very key and can reach to the results is very helpful. So in any other project that wants really to use the approach of volunteerism, let's not be like a volunteerism for the project. Let's be an initiative of the government, and at all levels. We are not working only with government at the national level, but until the community level. The structures there, everyone has his and her roles and responsibilities. So we have a well-written document showing what the local authorities are doing at local level. What are they doing at sector, district, national level? So which really helps. So in the future, with the volunteerism program, let's see how we can really support the community that we are serving to own the initiative and also start from what they have been doing. Thank you.
Thank you. That was so interesting, and so many good points about like needing to work with the government at every level, starting with them from design stage and staying that level of like collaborating all the way through to really be that team and make sure that it is the government's initiative and not the projects. All like really amazing points. I had another question about the training of the volunteers. So one thing we're talking about with our layered volunteer model is like, and just in general, the more we can simplify how much we have to train volunteers so that there's not a huge investment up front, the more likely it will be that that project can, or like that initiative via volunteers can be sustainable. So could you talk a little bit about like how the volunteers get trained, how long that takes, and who covers the costs of that, and whether or not you need, whether or not that initial training has been sufficient, or whether or not you have any other systems for sort of continuous support of the volunteers, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. That is a great question. So on the training, we designed a training, and we go to the training when we have already the developed tools. During the process of developing tools, we also engage them to ensure that we collect their feedback prior to the trainings. Then for the trainings, we just conducted one day training, then a follow-on one additional day training. But when we are training them, we don't just train only the youth volunteers. We also ensure that on the same tool, we also train the people in the community who are in charge of education, who are in relation with that activity. Like at the sector level, we have what we call sector education inspector, who is in charge of education in the whole sector. he or she is responsible to follow up on activities, on what is happening in the schools, provide advice. So we ensure that there are 416. We ensure that whenever the training happens in the district, they are also invited, so that a new volunteer who comes in, we don't again organize a refresher training. And we also ensure that we simplify information to ensure that they are clear to everyone, so that the sector education inspector, or working together with the youth, the youth volunteers representing others at sector level, the information are clear to them, so that they don't need another additional staff who can come. We have one staff at each district level. A total we have a certain staff. So at each district we have one staff, but we ensure that the trainings are not run again with him or her. They are just done by those youth volunteers representing others at sector level and the sector education inspector. But also the head teachers, also they got information on the form during our not deeply, but general information, key information on the forms. So that part was included in our awareness meetings. We didn't go for just awareness, but also included all those key aspects. So I can also give another example on the on approach we are using. Like currently, we are in the campaign of enrollment that we are we are doing in collaboration with, it's being led by the Ministry of Education. We are working together in that with UNICEF and other partners. But what we did, we developed a 2-pager highlighting on how the campaign will be done. Where does the youth volunteer start, such that the whole message is clear on the two pages, and then you ask the youth volunteers to follow the way the information is spread on the paper, and it's written in the local language, so that there is no complication of the language. So that also helps. So for instance, on that one, it didn't require our staff to conduct another training. Rather, they worked with the district officials to organize an online meeting, just to go through that 2 pages, and then they started the campaign. So yeah, these are the approaches that we are using. Thank you.
That's super helpful and so interesting how you've combined kind of multiple layers of simplification in terms of you've got the initial project-led training, you've made sure the tool was simple in the first place, and you made sure that there were folks along the line who could train new volunteers as they come up, the sector education inspectors and head teachers and others. You've got the sort of written materials with the like 2-pager pamphlet and a quick kind of virtual call on those things. That's really helpful and really in line with what we've been thinking in terms of how you simplify the role. I probably could keep asking too many questions, but I just am thinking so much about how, you know, with our educational volunteerism community of practice, we really want to help different education teams think about how to design their educational volunteer programs so that they can be at scale and be sustainable, which sounds like exactly what you have. I know you're still kind of in the early years of your project, but it sounds like going through the Ministry of Education this way, that it's embedded in their systems. Do you have a sense yet of how likely these things are to continue without external project funding and support? Like, do you feel like so far it's so well embedded that it's likely to be a program that continues even after the project ends, or is it still like kinks to be worked out in the process before you can say that, or what's your sense of it so far? The sort of sustainability.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I really believe that even after the project, this model can keep working, because even before coming in, they were already working. These are the volunteers that were already working. We are not paying them, and they are bringing results. So what we provide, we just provide a small amount of like 15 USD per month, just in case they need like internet, or if they are called at sector for a meeting, but they are not paid. And before the project they were working, they didn't come into volunteerism because we're making a call for being volunteerism. They were already ready to serve, which makes it easier for them to continue even after the project. And the messaging that is coming from the high level officials when they are having meetings with them, they always remind them that message, saying, you committed to be volunteers every time. And whenever even, for sometimes with logistics, it might take some time for them maybe to get that airtime. But again, they don't sit down and say, we are not working, we are not sending update, but they have other approaches that they use to ensure that this is being done. So we have never had their complaints saying that, oh, maybe you didn't see this and that, because they already know that they are volunteers. And also another thing that the high level officials create among these volunteers is they mobilize them to be to have a self-reliance, to just also have something which they do so that they can survive. Not to just saying, I'm just volunteering. No, they are just encouraging them to work so that they can also be productive for themselves and the country as a whole. But also, when they are just having something else that they are doing, it is also easier for them to go to do that volunteerism, because they are not relying to what the project is going to give them. Because sometimes when it's calling for volunteerism, when there is something comes on board, some might come thinking that they are going to gain something. But if already they have something they are doing which generates income, so it's likely that it becomes a routine for them to support in different areas. And this is, for instance, now having them in our project, it doesn't also mean that they are not also volunteering in other activities. For instance, in July we had elections. So during that time of elections, they were ensuring that they also support in activities related to elections. When, for instance, if it's like a campaign, how do they ensure that people are well organized, where meetings are happening, or during election time, cleaning the different spaces where election is going to take place, different activities. So for me, I think because they have now learned, even not only our project is giving them training, but they're also getting regular trainings and regular trainings from the government related to volunteerism. What is their aim? What is the objective? What do they commit to do? How are they doing? They do also self-evaluation. So, which I think, because now when it comes to the project, this is the priority for everyone, even themselves, even all of us. So seeing all children in the school is really very motivating. So we really have a hope that even after the project, this is something that they are going to continue doing. And as I was, I can tell you, like that airtime, it's not coming like each and every month. They know that, but still they continue doing it. And if there is something that comes in and it's not included in the tour, they don't say that, oh, we are not doing it. So they do it for the benefit of the community. For instance, they were doing identification, but the Ministry of Education said, oh, we need also to know children who need to go in ECDs and who will start P1 please ensure that you also enroll, you write to them and encourage the families to go to enroll them in the school. So they did it in the parallel with the identification. Yeah, so we really have a hope that even after the project, they are going to continue. And also on the other side for the government, for instance, I told you that there is a system on tracking attendance of children. So we didn't use the Save the Children systems because Save the Children has the system. We have Wariku team from Save the Children Asia. They already have the tracking system, the tracking children attendance, that system they are using in a different to support different countries. But when it comes to ours, the government said since even after 5 years after the project, we will continue to do this activity. Let's upgrade our system instead of using the one of Save, which has a time frame. Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's amazing how you've thought about so many levels, like being in the government's EMIS system makes everything much more likely to be sustainable in the long term too. So that's super amazing. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much for your presentation. It was really fascinating. I'm sure many people are going to look forward to watching or rewatching the recording of this. And I think it also provides really good examples of even thinking about that layered model of volunteerism we have. If you can work already from the beginning just through one government organization, they might be your key partner for every aspect of managing your volunteers at community level or cell level in your case. So really, really amazing example of that. Thank you so much. And thanks so much for your time in taking to present to us.
Thank you too. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the great work you are doing.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your afternoon, evening, and looking forward to our next community practice meeting in about another 3 months. And if people are interested in the working group, we have a meeting coming up next month. You can always email me and I will forward that to you. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Heidi, could you
Bye.
please stay on for a minute? I'll just stop
Yes.